You should be there. Where are you at?
What's up, King?
What's going on, Kwame? What's going on, brother?
Yeah, I see you're a little confused about the Dred Scott decision, the 14th Amendment. The Dred Scott decision was 1857, and the 14th Amendment was ratified in 1868. Prior to the 14th Amendment, no black, no Negro or African was whether free or enslaved could be a citizen of the United States of America or within a jurisdiction. So I don't know exactly what you was confused
Well, there wouldn't
about.
be the United States of America. They wouldn't be a citizen then, of course not. But there's still active slavery going on in this government.
Yeah, whether in the north or south, you couldn't be a citizen of the United States.
There was slavery in the north. There was slavery in the north.
No, there was 11 free. There was 11 free slaves. It was 11 states that wasn't slaveholding states.
11 states that were not states slave. No, but listen to what I'm saying here. You're going to mention out of 50 states, well, let's say 48.
No, it was 30. It was about 36 to 24, something like that. 11 was slaveholding states. 11 was not slaveholding states.
13 colonies were there was 13 colonies.
We're talking about 1857.
Okay, we're going to states. We're going to okay, I got you. So 11 and 11. So that's an even split. Now with those states that were not slaveholding states, did they not also allow slavery to go on in those states? Was slavery banned in those states?
Yeah, at the time of the Dred Scott, yeah. That's why when Frederick Douglass escaped slavery, he went to the north. He was no longer a slave.
Out here in Oregon, they still actually allowed slavery.
Well, the United States wasn't in Oregon at the time. We're talking about
yes,
mainly the Midwest.
Oregon is established. Oregon is the 33rd state of the Union.
I just told you 11 at the time. It was 11 free states and 11 slaveholding states.
Right.
Yeah, Oregon wasn't a part of that.
Okay, so there was slavery in New York, and again, Byron Barnes says regardless, it says subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So at the point of when you're talking subjection of the jurisdiction, what jurisdiction is Dred Scott under? Now, I understand you're saying they're not granted citizenship, so of course they couldn't vote. But does that make him an immigrant?
What is stateless?
Stateless does not make you an immigrant.
Okay, so what does stateless mean then? If you're stateless.
That's not my question. Was he an immigrant?
According to the Supreme Court decision, yeah. He wasn't a citizen.
Where did he immigrate from? Where did he immigrate from?
I just showed you the transcript from Africa.
He was brought here from Africa.
Yeah.
Well, his people would be brought here from Africa. Because by the time he got here, he wouldn't be able to be brought from Africa. Slavery was already, there were no ships coming here then.
But he's a descendant.
Right, a descendant of a slave. So meaning he was
read the Dred Scott
he was a descendant. Yes, but listen to what I'm telling you. He is not an immigrant. He is a product of this land. Now, whether he's regarded as a citizen by the United States government at the particular time, he definitely was not. But then again, what land where are we at? We're in America. He's not a damn immigrant. Him not being recognized, and as well as other Black Americans, freedmen, not being recognized in this country has been the long-term struggle of Black Americans in this country, getting the due rights that Black Americans are due from being part of this land. So I get what you're saying. Well, at the time, the white man wasn't really acknowledging him. But does that change the fact that he's not
Not
an
the white
immigrant?
man.
No.
Just the law. It was the law of the land. You couldn't be a citizen if you was a free Negro
It's their
or
law.
a slave.
It's the law based and founded and rooted in white supremacy. So yes, it's the white man.
I mean, that's the law of the land. That's his laws. He
It's the
established
law
the
of white
country.
supremacy. I get it.
I
It's
mean,
the law of white supremacy,
black
which
people established America.
Pan-Africanists don't touch. What'd you say?
I said black people didn't establish America or the Constitution, so I'm just going off the law of the land.
Right. And I understand that you have the law of the land, which does in nowhere does it refer to Dred Scott as being an immigrant.
Well, if you read the Dred Scott decision, it clearly outlined that he's a stateless, whether free or enslaved, he was stateless.
Stateless doesn't make him an immigrant. You do understand that, right?
Okay, so what's the definition of stateless then?
Stateless, you do not belong as a citizen to any territory. Now, that person being on that territory either came there or either is naturally from there. Regardless of how they look at you, because there's hundreds of millions of people born on American soil who were regarded as non-citizens. They were regarded as property. Where were they from? Did they immigrate here, or were they generations being regenerated in this country?
Well, technically, they immigrated here from Africa, whether they were slaves or freemen.
How? How do you immigrate here as a slave?
They shackle you on a boat, and they bring you here on a ship.
And that's what you call immigration?
I mean, I'm understanding what the Dred Scott decision was. He was a man that escaped slavery, that went to the north, and he was dragged back to slavery, and he tried to free for his status to be free. And the court decided that a free Negro or enslaved could not be a citizen of the United States of America. So he could not sue. He could not sue the United States of America.
Right. That is a way of good old-fashioned American hypocrisy.
That he was
but understand this: it does not change the status or the fact that he did not immigrate here. No slave coming here slaves are conquered individuals. Being shackled and put on a slave ship is nowhere near, I'm going to leave my land and go to this country. These people didn't know they were immigrating anywhere. They were took and stolen. Being stolen is different than being immigrated willfully, sir. And there is no immigration beyond your will. That's called kidnapping. So I know my brother Church of Black Power wants to chime in on this. So brother, you got it.
Thank you for having me back up, family. I didn't think I would have to do this today. You know, you already been cooking. I needed to get you an apron because you was already handling the kitchen. My whole thing is this is the problem with a lot of you Pan-Africans, and I really don't like the fact that you guys keep trying to change this narrative. The Dred Scott case, and I am a law student, so you're not going to sit here and talk around me. And just like you wasn't talking around our brother here. So I'm going to let you know right off the verse, the Dred Scott decision had nothing to do with citizenship. And if it did have anything to do with citizenship, then the 1/8 rule or whatever, excuse me, I'm spacing a little bit because you got me a little.
3/5.
3/5, thank you. The 3/5 decision directly affected the situations of the plantation owners because of the fact that they were able to use those 3/5 as representation. You can't have representation without citizenship. That's one. Number two, the Dred Scott decision, as my brother so elegantly put already, it had everything to do with whether or not Nabisco had the right to actually just disavow our rights as citizens.
I put the case on the back chat, so you can pull it up.
You got to say your say. Let me say what I have to say. Do not interrupt me, please. because this is all about citizenship. At the time, Dred Scott would not have been able to go to court if he was not a citizen. He would not have been able to even argue the point if he was not a citizen. That's not what the case was about whatsoever. The case was absolutely about whether or not a Nabisco man had the right to nullify the rights of the citizen of the black, the formerly enslaved. Period, point in black. And this is one of the things that was majorly fought over when we was released after the Civil War, where they was debating. It was all this, the question of the Negro situation. So with the question of the Negro, they was trying to send us back to Africa, and people such as our great ancestor, Frederick Douglass, and many others fought against that because of the fact that they said we are American in this core because we built this nation. And without our labor, without us being the foundation of the country, there would be no country to have citizenship to. So the question, whether or not Dred Scott was ever a citizen, was literally created and put into the mainstream as propaganda, because it was never a question whether Dred Scott was a citizen, because he was able to get married in America. His wife was taken, and that was one of the reasons why he ended up going into the courts. But the fact of the matter is, it was the major issue was whether or not the Nabisco man had to respect the citizenship of the newly freed slaves. That's all the Dred Scott decision was about. And that's why the 14th Amendment was actually produced, because it had to reinforce the rights of the slaves. That's all the 14th Amendment does. It reinforces the right of the slaves that was looked at as beneath or less than or not human. That's it. In any other court case, especially a Supreme Court case, especially when the Nabisco women was fighting against us getting well, they were against us having voters' rights, and they was trying to use the 14th Amendment in order to argue that they should be able to get the 14th Amendment rights. And every court, every Supreme Court that heard the case turned them down, saying the exact same thing that Trump already didn't say, that the 14th Amendment was for the descendants of American chattel slavery and to reinforce their citizenship, not to give them citizenship, but to reinforce their citizenship. So you need to really do some research, family. What you're saying is a bunch of propaganda, and you're actually pushing white supremacist talking points by doing so. Thank you for letting me back up, family.
Did you read?
I appreciate, brother.
Did you actually read the Dred Scott decision?
Not only did I read the
I want to show you
decision, I'm in the middle of writing a book about a lot of the decisions made in America.
What was the ruling on the Dred Scott decision?
I've already given you the ruling.
I got number 4 right on the screen.
The ruling on the Dred Scott decision. Mm-hmm. Yes, you could read the transcript right there in your face. Part 4: a free Negro of the African race, whether was brought here to this country and sold as slave.
What's your name, sir?
It's not a citizen. Kwame.
Hold on. What's your name, sir? Because I don't want to misname you. Say that one more time. Kwame.
I said, yeah. So if you read Kwame, the Dred Scott, hold on. I just let you talk. I just let you talk. Let me finish my point.
Hold on. I don't have a lot of time, my brother.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna let you say what you have to say, but I need you to show me this because it's up on the screen now. Show me where in the Dred Scott decision where it states that Dred Scott is not considered a citizen. Go.
Right there in the transcript, part 4: a free Negro of the African race, whether can you pull it up a little? It's a little bit small.
You see it?
Whose ancestors was brought to the country and sold as slaves, is not a citizen within the meaning of the Constitution of the United States. So I that's the Dred Scott ruling. I don't know where you getting your ruling from, but that's the transcript right there on the screen. I put it in the back chat from the archive so you can see it. That was the ruling. The
and one thing
7-2 ruling of the Supreme Court in 1857. It addressed free people or enslaved people that you could not be a citizen of the United States of America. That was the ruling.
And another thing, but also, do you notice something that you keep referring to as a free Negro? That's not an immigrant.
And also,
okay, what is a free Negro?
Hold on. And also, you keep saying people brought to the Americas. And you know that a lot of the situation that we've been speaking about today is that only a third of a million people was brought to the Americas. That is documented by the American government and by the link that I gave you earlier, which is slavevoyages.org. That is a clear-cut document there. But also, what you're trying to insinuate is
I'm not trying to insinuate. I'm just reading the court filing, the Supreme Court filing, the 7-2 decision.
You keep calling him an immigrant.
Exactly.
I mean, he wasn't a citizen. So if you're not a citizen, what are you?
You're not. Oh, okay. If the land is taken from you, then are you a citizen or are you a prisoner of war?
What land was taken from Dred Scott or his ancestors?
America.
Can you prove that?
Yes. God dang it. There's more information coming out every day that the so-called Native Americans aren't Native Americans, they're Siberians. That's one. Two, there are footprints that are fossilizated right there in New Mexico that shows that we was here 10,000 years before the Bering Straits even melted. That's two. Number three, when you talk about the slaves brought here, I gave you a resource, slavevoyages.org.
Okay, are you a
so
Black
you'll
American?
Be able to look at it then.
Are you a Black American or African American, or are you a Native American? Which one?
I'm a foundational Black American. I have
So you're a Black American.
Hold on. I have native ties because my grandmother, my father's father's grandmother, who was enslaved, was a Blackfoot native who walked the Trail of Tears. So when you're asking these questions, be damn sure you know who you're speaking to and be damn sure you can combat the information given.
Well, I'm not talking about Native American. I'm talking about Black Americans. Black American ancestors.
There's a lot of those.
You can't be a Black American if you're a Native American.
Sir, Black Americans are Native Americans, whether you want to accept that or not. And that's the problem.
Wow.
Because of the fact that...
Who were the Maroons? Then what made the Maroons?
Which Maroons? The Gullah Geechee?
What do you mean, which Maroons? The Gullah Geechees? That's... Okay. Do you know anything about Arkansas? How people got there? Okay, clearly you don't.
I'm not 100% sure.
I got it. That's why I asked you about those the French, the slaves of the French before Napoleon had the bell. That's why I asked you about them. You talking
about the Louisiana Purchase?
Yeah. What happened to the runaway slaves of the French in America?
Maybe they intertwine with the Native Americans. I'm not 100% sure.
Right. But you're here talking very definitively. Again, I get it. And so here's another thing I just want to reiterate and point out to you. In your own thing that you posted here, there is no reference to an immigrant. This is all American related business. There's nothing related to outsiders here. So when you're dealing with what's going on in this country, this is the benefit of the civil rights movement and Black empowerment over the years. We've fought so much that people have just naturally became entitled to benefits we fought for that nobody would have had we not stood up for it to begin with. But then we get people later down the road to come in here and just throw semantical bullshit out here. Well, he wasn't a citizen, but he wasn't a damn immigrant. And that being the point, you're stuck right there because you don't know where to go. And so we can get through it and keep going there. Here's one thing I need you to leave with today, Kwame. Although the white man didn't consider him to be a citizen, here's a fact that you need to understand. He was not an immigrant. in slavery, chattel slavery, are not a bunch of immigrants. The generations of those people who are here, even the free Moorish people that were here ambushed up in Boston and then put back into slavery on the slave trade. You don't talk anything about those Moorish, the black Europeans that came over here. We don't hear anything about them. We only talking about Africa, Africa, Africa. There is a whole group of black folks from Europe that ended up on this continent. How the hell you got these Aborigines over there in Australia? See, there's a lot that you leave out.
Oh, okay.
But here's the fact. Let me just back up. Now we done with that because we done figured you stuck in the same question I've asked you 1,000 times, and we'll end with this. If you can answer this, I'll listen to you. No, just answer this question: was Dred Scott an immigrant or not?
According to the Supreme Court ruling, yes, he was an immigrant. He was not. His status was not a citizen.
Again, no. What in Free Negro tells you he's an immigrant?
A free Negro of the African race.
This is the paper. This is what you sent me.
Yeah. This is the transcript. A free Negro of the African race. There's nothing about an immigrant. Hold on. Let me just read part 4, and we could come to a decision right there. A free Negro of the African race whose ancestors was brought to this country and sold as slaves is not a citizen within the meaning of the Constitution of the United States.
Okay, and so let's go down to part 6 real quick because you did read that. Here's part 6. The only 2 clauses in the Constitution which points to this race treat them as persons whom it was morally lawful to deal in articles as of property and to hold as slaves. That right there nullifies that bullshit ass point you keep making. Have a good day, sir. Hell out of my studio. Good grief. Come on now with it, Kwame. You gonna send me this shit and then not even be able to you didn't read that part right there, did you? And let me show y'all again the part that he obviously missed. This right here. There ain't no damn immigrant in this conversation, partner. No, this is clearly talking about these people. And see, they're acknowledging that they were holding them as slaves, not as immigrants. The fraudulent nature of this line is a beast, ain't it? Jesus Christ. So, we have gotten to the point of the evening, ladies and gentlemen, that I think I got this last video that I need to play for y'all. And Kwame, thank you so much for being able to kind of set this one up. Because that interaction with all of us was perfect. And I appreciate you coming up and chiming in. But you can't come up here being dishonest, and when you know that you tried to move the goalposts. The point was this ain't no immigrant conversation. Oh well, he wasn't a citizen, he wasn't an immigrant. And so with that, we are going to play a video for everybody who doesn't understand, and we're gonna let this sister share her 2 cents with y'all.
Yeah, and you got black creators on this bitch right now talking about some black community. I understand, it's not about who's this or that or FBA or ADOS or da-da-da. If birthright citizenship is removed, if the 14th Amendment is overturned, that jeopardizes black Americans, da-da-da-da-da. So we have to get up and fight for these folk. Let me tell y'all some real ass shit though. These folk jeopardize the 14th Amendment. Not Trump. Not Trump. Not any other politician. These folk jeopardize the 14th Amendment. I keep it real. They knew they were exploiting that amendment the whole time to run their ass over here and have anchor babies. They knew they was dropping kids off here from other countries to get DACA and shit like that. They knew what they were doing. And guess what? They didn't care who they was harming when they was doing it. The only thing they cared about is themselves. And for the communities that was doing it, the only people they cared about was their community. Now that the damn buck done ran out, all of us got to sit up here and fight because basically that group of people, those group of people fucked us all. They fucked us all because they couldn't follow fucking rules. That's the truth. That is the truth of this. And they weren't doing it to like a couple hundred here, a couple hundred there, to where it would have been inconspicuous and unnoticeable. No, they were doing it to the tunes of millions. The tunes of millions. And then after doing this, they then brought their funky asses up here and started demanding for the government to take care of these people that wasn't supposed to be here in the first fucking place. Their entitlement fucked us all. Their entitlement fucked us all. And that's the truth. And now white folk done got sick of the shit. And now black folk got to be in jeopardy because all these other groups who disrespect the fuck out of us 365 days of the year now have an amendment that is attached to us and our ancestors on the goddamn chopping block. When they really should have never did the shit in the first place. They should have followed the rules the whole time and we wouldn't be going through this. So they put us all in jeopardy, and now we gotta save they funk asses while they were jeopardizing us. Because the only reason why we're here is because they jeopardized us all. Man, fuck that shit. Whatever happened. Well, if we going, we fucking going. If we going, we fucking going. I ain't helping nobody with shit. I'm not helping nobody with a goddamn thing. They were not only bad parents, they were bad people. They didn't care about the black community when they was fucking around with the 14th Amendment, dropping babies off over here. They didn't give a fuck about us when they were doing that. Have a good day. Not to you, sis, but to the other motherfuckers who playing games. Y'all will not guilt trip me, shame me, emotionally hijack me. Fuck you and them.
Well, she told y'all, didn't she?